Hey everyone, how's it going and welcome back. I've already made 2 videos over the last couple of months on my homemade hot composter, but for today's video I've got an idea to do something slightly different and it means I need to call one of my friends. Hey Eli, it's Niall.
Hey you! Totally wasn't expecting to hear from you today. How's things?
I'm good, thanks. Do you fancy helping me out with something on my channel?
Yeah, awesome. No worries. See you in a second then.
Cool. See you in a bit. Bye. That was Eli from her channel, The Kitchen Garden with Eli and Kate. Check it out. It's a brilliant channel and the link's up here. She covers all things gardening, so I think she's the perfect person to talk to because I've got an idea that what we're going to do is we're going to have a hot composter showdown. Who's better, hers or mine? Let's go. Hey, how's it going?
Hey you! Lovely to see you. How's the weather with you guys today?
Yeah, it's not great. It's typical Ireland.
I'll not mention the sun we've got then.
Oh no, because this is meant to be August. So you said you'd help me with something on my channel.
Oh yeah, is this it? You're going to make me do it now?
Absolutely. I'm going to make you work.
Okay.
So,
excellent. Tell me, what do you need?
As far as I'm concerned, nobody knows more about using a Hotbin in the real world than you, and you've got some seriously popular videos.
What you mean is anything that can go wrong I've discovered.
Yeah, exactly. And you know that I've made my own hot composter and that it's working really well.
I'm so jealous. It's fabby, because I watched you did a video recently when you emptied it. It looked gorgeous.
So what I thought would be really handy would be that we make a video where we do an honest comparison between mine and yours, and then anybody that's watching, if they're thinking about buying one or if they're thinking about making their own, it'll give them just some good ideas.
Something to work with. Yeah. That'll be brilliant. I get loads of folk from Ireland contact me because they're struggling to get one. Yeah. So that might actually be really good.
Bass.
Ooh,
so
this could be interesting.
Here's the plan. You and I are going to have a hot composter showdown.
That's fighting talk.
Bring it on. Okay, so we're going to score each of our hot composters out of 5 for 5 different things. So we're going to call it on appearance, usability, effectiveness, durability, and cost.
Okay, it's all sounding good until cost there, right? Okay, that sounds cool, actually. This could be fun.
Great.
And it means I get to have a good look at your bin as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's get into the garden and may the best hot composter win. Woo!
Rachel, see ya.
Okay, so I'm going to kick off with appearance, and straight away I know that I'm not going to win this one because this is one great big grey polystyrene slabby box. But you know what? I made it myself, and considering it's homemade, I am quite proud of how it turned out. It does certainly look neater than a compost heap if you just had a big pile of compost materials. Granted, it's not the kind of thing that you're going to want to have on your patio or in a really nice part of the garden where it's on show or where you're looking at it all the time. But for me, I've got it in the polytunnel, or for most people, you're going to put it in the back corner of your garden or round behind a building or something. So it's going to be absolutely fine. For me then, I'm going to give this 3 out of 5. A kind of middling score. Yeah, it's not pretty, but considering it's homemade, it's really not bad. Not awesome, not terrible. But Eli, I've got a feeling you're going to beat me on this one.
Well, absolutely, Niall. I think I might win on this one. So, now, unlike you, I don't have the massive polytunnel of space. I'm down the side of the greenhouse, and as you can see, I've only got a few feet here. So I'll do my best to show you what I can, and I'll have to suck the gut in for this here. But this is my Hotbin composter. So unlike you made your absolutely amazing DIY one yourself. I was lazy and I bought this off the factory production line. So this is the official Hotbin composter. Copyright name and everything. But as you can see, aesthetically speaking, I have to be honest, it's one of the reasons I bought it. It is slick. It's a really nice small footprint, which is really handy for me because I've got quite a small garden, and I did used to have the traditional compost bin. You know, the you build yourself with pallets type model. And if any of you guys are ever on my channel watching my videos, one of the things they will see is I do like a nice, neat, tidy garden. So this is a biggie for me. It's slim, it's a small footprint, it's neat and tidy, it's all closed, and as you can see, it's quite an attractive beastie. I think Coco Chanel would be quite pleased with this little black number. The only complaint I had when we first got this, it came with these bright neon green straps down here, which I really hated. So I switched them over for the black ones, which I think just makes it a touch classier. Yep. So all in all, as you can see, it's a very attractive little thing. The only thing I would say it loses marks on for me, it's got a vent to let the air in, and that is also the vent that then all the leachate from the compost, so the really good liquid from the compost that you can make feed out of, that comes out of there, and I don't like that. I think that's one of the poorer features. So at the moment on my version of the bin, it loses marks for that in terms of how aesthetically pleasing it is, but they have actually tried to fix that, so that's possibly a good thing. So yeah, I'm thinking all in all, I'm like 4 out of 5 on appearances here. I think mine is actually, she's quite an attractive girl really, isn't she? A bit like myself, yeah. What about you then? What's next?
Oh, you're off to a good start. Okay, so next thing, it's usability. So I'm actually really happy with how usable this is, and I designed it to work exactly the same way as a Hotbin that you can buy. A contained unit where you put the material in at the top and you get your compost out at the bottom. In terms of usability, it works really nicely. All you have to do is collect your compost materials, whether that's stuff out of your house or stuff from your garden, bring it down to your composter, lift the lid, pop it into the top, give it a stir around with some bulking agent and some shredded paper, give it time for it to heat up and make the compost, and then you collect the compost out of the hatch at the bottom when it's ready. From that point of view, it's really convenient, and I've been really happy using it. Most of all though, what I love is the fact that it doesn't smell. I thought particularly in an enclosed space like the polytunnel, this thing was going to get really stinky because we put food waste, including raw food, like raw chicken and stuff into it, just like the real Hotbin says that you can do. There's been absolutely no smell, and I'm pretty sure that that A is because it's sealed up most of the time, but most of all it's because it gets really hot. The heat kills any bacteria, and it's basically just absolutely scentless, which is fantastic. Now there are a couple of downsides, but I think only one of them is specific to my homemade one, and that's that the lid isn't hinged. So if you want to put stuff in and you want to lift it up, you can't lift the lid and leave it up, so then you're down to only having one hand. Alternatively, what you need to do is lift the lid completely off, set it somewhere else, and then you can put your stuff in. The other two slight issues are things that are the same with the standard Hotbin. The first one is that although I'm 6 foot, this sits at about maybe 4.5, 5 foot. So when it's not full of material, it can be a little bit awkward reaching in and trying to mix material in it. And the other thing is that when it comes time to get your compost out from the bottom and you lift the hatch away, as you start to mine away and dig that good compost out, the material higher up that isn't actually quite ready yet tends to fall down, so you need to be quite careful how you do it. It makes it a little bit time consuming and a little bit fiddly. Saying that though, in terms of convenience, how usable it is, the downsides really are way outweighed by the upsides. So for me, I'm going to give this 4 out of 5 because I'm really happy with it. How about you, Eli?
Right, okay, so you're not going to have this problem with your bin, but if any of your viewers are looking at this and they are like me, because I am 5 foot tall, I'm tiny, right, okay, technically 5 foot 1 inch and a bit if you want to get really into this here, but generally about the 5 foot tall mark, which means usability wise for me, this little block of wood earlier on, I need this so that I can reach to actually get in and use the bin, because unfortunately, because of the height, it means if I'm not on that block, I'm kind of on my tiptoes leaning over, and I usually end up filthy and compost all over my shirt. So I've had to add these blocks of wood just for the sake of the height. But I have to say, it's kind of swings and roundabouts, because if it didn't have that height, it would probably have to be wider. So again, we'd be increasing the footprint, and the footprint is one of the reasons why I bought it. So I'd say it's probably not the end of the world really that it's a bit tall for me, because let's be honest, I'm not exactly average height. But other than that, I think it's actually quite easy to use. I mean, if I'm on my step, like you, Niall, I access it from the top, and that's where I put my stuff in. That's where I give it a good old mix from. It's a nice hinged top, so I don't have to take the lid out and put it anywhere out the way and then forget where I've put it. Yeah, I bet you have, haven't you? So yeah, so that's good. I mean, to be honest, there have been a couple of times where I've put the lid up and I've gone in to do stuff and the lid's fallen back down on the back of my head. There was much squealing, not pleasant. But yeah, I think it's actually really quite usable in that sense. So, in terms of usability, yeah, again, I think about a 4 out of 5. I'd be really happy giving this a good score. I feel a bit guilty taking a point off it because of the height thing. That's probably me just being nonsense really, but personally for me that counts. Niall, will I do the next bit? Just given I've had this a wee bit longer than you for your bin.
Yeah, go for it.
Excellent, okay, Niall has spoken. The next thing we want to talk about then is how effective is the bin? Effectiveness, if you like. I've had this now for about, I think maybe 3 years actually, gone through 3 seasons. So I have gone through everything that can go wrong, everything that can go right. I've learned my lessons along the way. And what I have learned very much so is, yes, this is very, very effective if you follow all the instructions and do things properly, and that is key. Okay, now the first year I had this, I didn't see the temperatures really. I did sometimes, but not often, and it didn't stay that way. And this is what I'd expected. I expected that it would just stay at those temperatures all the time. And I was really disappointed and quite worried, as you would be. But I've learned that one of the reasons that happened, and one of the main problems I had, is I just didn't have enough waste and the right type of waste. And what I mean by that is there's 2 types of waste that you put in this bin. There's your green and your brown, and you have to be quite specific about the amounts that you're putting in. We're a paperless household, and there's only 2 of us in the house, and we're quite strict about not wasting things, so we weren't getting nearly enough kitchen waste and things to go in it. Plus, those of you who have followed my channel or gone and had a sneaky peek now, you'll see that our garden's quite formal. So we don't generally have a lot of tree trimmings and shrub trimmings and that type of thing to go in. The other problem was, being a paperless household, we were struggling to get the right amount of paper to put in, the right amount of brown. Therefore, what we saw was the compost that was coming out was really quite wet, like properly saturated wet and totally unusable. I'm glad to say since then though I have got on top of that, and I can now say that yes, now that I've got on top of that, it is working brilliantly. We've got a neighbour now gives us their kitchen waste and their old newspapers. That on top of ours and the bits and pieces from the lawn and the garden and stuff, we are now seeing awesome compost coming out this thing, and we're seeing those temperatures. So it will, when we've just put a good chunk of waste in, it will go up to 60 and sit, but mostly it sits around the between 40 and 50 mark, which is what it's meant to do, so that is awesome. In the last 4 months, I've had 2 huge sacks of compost coming out this, and that is sacks of compost after I've filtered it all out with a sieve and got it to be nice and fine. So I probably got 2 full enormous sacks of raw compost that you could dig into beds, use as mulch, that type of thing. So in terms of effectiveness, it is a massive thumbs up from me. It is a learning curve if you've never done this type of thing before, and I'd only had a standard compost bin before, but now that I've got on top of it, I'd say 4 out of 5, I think. Absolutely amazing. It could only get a 5 out of 5 if it miraculously made the perfect, beautiful stuff you buy from your local garden centre. But that's not how compost works. So yeah, effective, absolutely fantastic.
This is where I think it's going to get really interesting. I thought it would be useful for you viewers to be able to compare the effectiveness of something that you can make yourself versus a Hotbin hot composter that you can buy. So the reason that I built this was that I'd lost it after a Hotbin for a while, but the financial outlay was a little bit daunting considering I was skeptical about the whole hot composting concept. I'd never tried it before, so I thought I'd give this thing a go. But to say I'm blown away is an understatement. In my previous video where I showed you the first compost that I got out of this, the amount and the quantity of compost that I got was absolutely staggering. It created a really nice crumbly compost that once I sieved it down gave me a nice chunky compost that I could use in the garden, or if I sieved it even finer, it made a nice fine compost that I could put into planters or pots. Overall, I was really happy with the compost that was made. It wasn't too wet, it wasn't too dry, and the texture was really good. On top of that though was the quantity. I couldn't believe the amount of compost that I got out of this thing after only 3 months. I thought I would have maybe a small bucket full. In the end, I had a bucket full and a huge heap that was on a tarpaulin. So for me, in terms of effectiveness, this is an absolute no-brainer. And I can only give it 1 score, 5 out of 5. So we've already covered appearance, usability and effectiveness, and I thought the other good comparison to draw between this and a Hotbin is durability. So a standard Hotbin that you can buy is made in a couple of pieces, and it's made out of expanded polypropylene, which is like expanded polystyrene but really tough. It's what they made car bumpers out of. However, it is really difficult to source big panels of it. You can buy little panels for craft, but that was never going to work for making this. So instead, what I did was I bought expanded polystyrene insulating panels, just like the kind that you can get online or you can buy from a hardware shop. The big thing is that it does exactly the same job. It insulates the box, and that means that the compost can get really hot and you get all the advantages of being able to put all sorts of things in it and being able to get your compost made really quickly. But it isn't as durable and it can get damaged and dented quite easily. So for starters, in a previous video I talked about how one of the cats in the local area likes to come and sleep in here in the sunshine, and what they also do is they sleep on top of the composter, but to get there they climb up the side, and you can see that there is a little bit of damage. What I would say is that damage is superficial and it more lends itself towards appearance issues as opposed to functionality issues. It still works just fine. The other thing is that you do need to stir the mixture occasionally, and I use this thing, but it's got a relatively pointed end. So when you're mixing, you have to be quite careful, because if you don't, this happens. And you can see how easily you can put a dent in it. Again, it's not the end of the world, but for me, it's going to knock the durability score down a little bit. I would love to give this 3 out of 5. I think in all honesty, I can probably only give it 2 out of 5. How about you, Eli? What's yours like for durability?
Yeah, it's pretty durable. Like I said, it looks like and feels like polystyrene, but it's not. So I have battered lumps out of this, and I have clattered it with this hook thing quite a few times. I don't know if you can see this on camera. Yeah. And it hasn't made any holes in it. Like I say, this is a few years old now. And it is really, really durable. I think, to be honest, mate, I think I'm going to win on the durability thing here. It's all still going. You can batter it around. Yeah. I can't complain on that front. Durable, yeah, but I think I'm going for the whole 5 out of 5 on that one.
What? 5 out of 5? I knew I was never going to beat you on durability, but the last one is cost, and this is where I'm going to give you a run for your money. So in Ireland, if you wanted to buy a Hotbin, at the moment it costs you approximately 200 to 300 euro depending on the size and the model that you go for. In comparison, this thing cost me a total of 80 euro all in. That includes the polystyrene panels, the adhesives to stick them together, the cam straps, the thermometer that's in the top and the compost thermometer that's in the bottom. So in terms of money, it is way cheaper. Now, when you then stack that up with the amount of compost that it creates and the quality of the compost, which I would say are both on par with a Hotbin, this makes this thing an absolute no-brainer. One thing I would say is that this thing is actually larger in capacity than a Hotbin. You get them in 100, I think, and 200 litre options. I think it's like that. Either way, there's a small and a big one. This thing is over 300 litres. So it makes a lot of compost and it gets through a lot of material really quickly, which is particularly good if you have a large garden like we do. Now, I know there are a couple of downsides, like the fact that it isn't the prettiest and that it's not quite as durable. But when you think about the cost versus what you're getting out of it, and that in my opinion, the compost is as good as you're going to get out of a Hotbin, to me, it's actually a hands down winner on cost. But if you think about it then, even when you've got the durability issue, you don't even need to replace all of these pieces. If it starts to fall apart and you need a new one, all you need to do is buy some more polystyrene panels and some more adhesive, and then you can reuse the cam straps and the thermometer. So for me, on cost, it can only be 5 out of 5. Absolute winner on cost.
Oh, okay. I think this might be the one you win on. Yeah, cost. Okay, I'm going to be hands up here, okay? Cost-wise, I do bulk a little bit. I mean, I think this was almost 200 quid. Okay, granted, I don't have the shipping costs that you've got in Ireland, so I can't really complain as much as you can, but I was a bit, when it arrived, I was a bit like, seriously, 200 quid for this? I do think it's quite expensive for what it is, but in saying that it's really, really durable, it does the job. It is much easier than my old proper traditional piles. I don't have to be turning, like actually physically with a spade digging every time, which I found really hard doing. It doesn't smell as great. I mean, it's all sealed up nice with the lid and things on it. Don't get any smells. The old bin, we used to get mice in the old bin. No problems with that with this one. So yeah, okay, I think it's a bit expensive, but I don't know if I'd say it's worth the money. It's a personal thing, I think. I think, yeah, it's probably worth the money to me in terms of how much easier it is for me to manage, given I'm quite small, I'm not overly strong. So yeah, for me, it's probably worth the money. Not as happy, so maybe a 2.5 out of 5.
All right, Eli, I've been keeping track of all the scores in my little book and the results are in. So I'm going to go first. So for my hot composter, I gave this 3 out of 5 for appearance, 4 out of 5 for usability, 5 out of 5 for effectiveness, only 2 out of 5 on durability, and 5 out of 5 on cost. That gives me a grand total of 19 out of 25, or for all you percentage boffins, that's 76%. But Eli, it's not looking good for me, I'm afraid. You gave it 4 out of 5 for appearance, 4 out of 5 for usability, 4 out of 5 for effectiveness, 5 out of 5 for durability. Oh, you beat me on it. And 2.5 out of 5 for cost. And that gives you a grand total of 19.5 out of 25, or 78%. So you did it. You pipped me to the post and you beat me. Hopefully though, everybody, you found this useful. It was a little bit of fun, but I thought it would be handy to be able to show you a proper comparison between somebody that's using a homemade hot composter and somebody that owns a Hotbin that they've bought off the shelf. What it does show, I think, is that it depends on your priorities. If you're looking for something that's going to be smart looking, neat, that you don't have to make yourself, and you don't mind paying the money for it, Hotbin is the way to go. But the fact that the scores were kind of close means that they're both good contenders. And if you're looking for something that's going to cost you very little money, it's going to create good compost, and you don't mind building it yourself, the homemade hot composter is the way to go. So I suppose, Eli, you're going to want a reward for winning, yeah?
Can I do the goodbye bit? Can I? Go on, please.
Okay, go on then.
Yes. This is so cool. I'm on Niall Gardens. Okay, how do you do your goodbyes again? So that's it for our compost bin showdown. If you liked this content, let me know by giving it a like or post a little comment down below. And don't forget to hit subscribe and the little bell icon if you want to be notified the next time Niall posts a video. Until next time, see ya! That was me pretending to walk away like you do in your garden, but I kinda can't. Thank you for having me on the channel. This was cool. Bye!
And until next time, see you later.